What's up? This is Kong from XFaderz, and in this video we're going to discuss the storage portion of the OCS series. If you haven't already, take a moment and check out the videos prior to this one. It will provide some context for this video and to help you out going forward. If you've been following along and you have successfully organized your music as well as cleaned it up, then you're definitely ready to store it. But before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Jorge Blanco. He was the first one to introduce me to this idea of backing up my music this way, and without his help, I wouldn't be able to share this information with you today. So before we get started, I want you to take a moment and think about where you have all your music stored and what would happen or need to happen if you experienced a failure. If you were able to answer this question quickly, then great. You already have something in place or a backup plan in place, but if not, you may want to consider some of the options that I bring forth in this video. I can tell you I've used everything from USB flash drives, external hard drives, lower level NAS to be able to store my music, and to be honest, it was never synced up properly, so at times it will be off by at least a month or maybe even 2 months. I have a total approximately of 408 gigabytes of music, and it's taken me quite a bit of time to accumulate all of this. I'm pretty sure other people have quite a bit more or even less. But the main idea here is to make sure that your music's backed up so you don't have to try and reproduce any of the content you've accumulated over time. So the device I want to talk to you about today is the Synology NAS. And NAS is short for Network Attached Storage. And what this allows you to do is connect this device to your network and allow you to back up your music to it. In addition to your movies, your videos, your software, your photos, and a bunch of other documentation and stuff like that can be stored on this device as well. Pictured in the video is a single bay drive. They come in a bunch of different sizes and styles, but for the most part, this will just get you started in backing up your music. Now, I would suggest going with a 2 bay, and I'll be able to explain it a little bit more later in the video. But at least starting off with a 1 bay in conjunction with your desktop or your laptop will be a pretty good start as far as backing up your music and having a backup plan if something failed. And the best part about these devices is that all your content can be easily accessed within the house as well as outside. And I'll discuss that a little bit more in detail as we progress through the video. The key to these devices is they do not come with hard drives, so they allow you to choose whatever drive you like to put in them. Some of them have limitations as far as the drive size, but for the most part, you'll be able to put one that you prefer inside of these devices. In this part of the video, I'm just disassembling the case so I can place the hard drive inside. Some of them are a little easier to work with because they have quick release trays and stuff where you can just place the drive in and slide it into the bay. But for this one, I just had to remove 2 screws and slide it forward to expose the section where I installed a hard drive. This particular model supports the 3.5 SATA hard drive. You can also use 2.5 size drives. Mainly they go into laptops as well as SSDs. You can use an adapter to bring it up to a 3.5 drive, but long as it's a SATA interface, you'll be fine. I would suggest going with a 3.5 drive mainly because of the price or value comparison as far as getting more gigabytes for the money. You can put an SSD in there, but the theoretical speed of gigabit Ethernet is 125, so you would not even be using the full potential of an SSD, but if you need to use it for fast access, then it'll be a good suggestion. For this video, I'm just going to use the adapter that I mentioned before and adapt it to a 3.5 size, but it's still a SATA SSD. The adapter that I'm using in this video is the FinLink 2.5 to 3.5 internal SSD hard drive SATA converter. Again, you don't have to use this particular one. You can use just a basic mounting kit that will turn it over to 3.5 and it'll still be fine. But I will leave the link in the description below just in case if you were interested in purchasing this one. The first thing we'll need to do is mount the SSD to the bracket. The screws are provided in the case, and what you'll do is place the 4 screws on the bottom of the SSD going through the mount. Once you're done, you can flip it over and just look over the mounting hardware as well as the drive to make sure it's secured properly. And then you can slide it right into the tray. Now, it shouldn't require any additional force. You should just be able to slide it directly into the SATA mounting. Once you've completed that, you're going to secure the SSD as well as the bracket to the Synology mounting hardware. And that's pretty much it. You'll just reassemble the case and put the 2 remaining screws in and plug it into your Ethernet cable as well as the power cable. As that loads up, we can take a minute and look at the Synology website and thumb through the NAS selector. So on this page, it will help you decide which NAS will be the best for you, whether it be home or small office use or business. Now, essentially, you can go down and just sort of decide what you'll be using it for. I'm speaking primarily towards music backup and DJing purposes, but if you do find yourself using it as a file server or data backup or multimedia hub, all of these things will work in your favor in addition to using it as a way to back up your music. So you just have to answer a few questions, and in this one, how many users will be using the device. And also, which size do you want, a 1 bay, 2 bay, or 4 to 6? That really comes into play when we're talking about redundancy, whether or not you're just backing it up to a single hard drive or multiple hard drives. But the most important thing is just making sure that you have one in place and it's configured properly. Once you've looked at all of the specs and you're comfortable with your decision, you can go ahead and consider purchasing. But don't forget, these drives or devices do not come with hard drives, so you're still going to have to purchase one. Another great selling point for these devices is they have a very small footprint, in addition to they're eco-friendly, so they don't pull that much power as compared to leaving your desktop on all day or your laptop just to access your music. These devices only pull approximately 9 to 10 watts, at least this one on screen. And your data and music and information is accessible 24/7. They do go into a sleep mode when they're not being in use to save on power, but at least when you're ready to access it, it will wake itself up without any additional configurations or anything like that to your network. The specs that you go over on these devices read similar to tablets and cell phones. In a case where if you need 4K transcoding, then you would purchase one with a little bit more RAM as well as a stronger processor. And this particular model also supports USB 3.0, where the other one that we were looking at was only USB 2.0. All of these devices for the most part share the same OS, but you have to be honest with yourself, and if you plan on using it for other things, make sure you get one that supports what you plan on doing in the future. If you're having trouble choosing a hard drive to go in the device, you can always check Synology's compatibility list. Just simply go through the chart and choose whatever drive you're interested in, and then just making sure that it works with the device. Now, I will say there may be drives that will work that are not on the list, but by using this website and using this list, you'll have the safest bet as far as making sure it works with the device properly. Once you got everything plugged up properly and it's connected to your network, you'll navigate back to the Synology website and download the Synology Assistant. This will allow the software or your computer to identify what IP address the Synology is on. If you're comfortable configuring your network, I would highly suggest that you set your IP address to static, just to prevent any issues like if you have power loss and your device comes back up, you want it to maintain the same IP address that it had before the power went out. Again, this step is not required, but it's just a good idea if you're able to do so. When you open up the software, you'll be greeted with this menu here. What it'll do is search your whole network to see if it can find any Synology devices. As you can see here, the first device that is found is the DS115J, and it's on IP address 10.0.0.222, and it is set to DHCP. And at the moment, it also says that the status is not installed, so meaning that the DSM software is not installed to it yet. And the DSM is basically the OS for the device, so we'll go ahead and click connect to connect to the Synology, and then we'll go ahead and hit setup to start this process. Once you scroll down and click install now, it will ask you, do you want to remove the contents of the hard drive? So go ahead and check the box and hit yes, and it's going to wipe the hard drive for you. This process takes a little while, so if you want to step away, grab something to eat, or do something different, you can definitely do so and come back to it and everything will be installed. It also requires a restart, so that takes quite a bit of time too as well. So probably give it about 20 minutes before you come back, and it should be up and running. When you come back, you'll be greeted with the following screen. This will allow you to set up your server name. So this is the name that you'll see on your local network. Next is followed by the username and password for the device. So this allows you to log in, and it creates a user account for the Synology. And last but not least, it'll have you confirm your password. The best suggestion I can offer is provide a strong password, one with capital letters, asterisks, special characters, stuff like that. Once you're done, you can go ahead and click next. On the next page, you'll be greeted with the quick connect setup. This will allow you to set up a Synology account as well as to create a quick connect ID. This is what allows you to log in when you're outside of the home or access the device while you're outside of the home or off your network. And the final page just confirms that your quick connect went through successfully. It will show you what your web address is, which is HTTP. And we'll address the fact that it's not HTTPS shortly, but it is quickconnect.2/xfad-NAS. To start you off pretty good, Synology recommends the following packages. I can speak to the video station, the media server, and audio station for the moment. There's also an additional one, which will be the photo station that we'll install a little bit later, but those are the ones I really recommend to start with. You can skip this step if you want to do it manually, but I would also suggest you can just click next for easy, and you can remove the ones that you don't like. Once you accept the terms of service, go ahead and check the box and hit next. And as you can see on screen, you're all set. You do have the option to share your Synology device network location, but I choose not to. So after that, you can go ahead and click go, and it will take you into the home page for the Synology. Before we go too much further, I would like to help you out securing your device. I think it's very important now more than ever to harden your devices to prevent any intrusions or undetected access to your device. So a couple of things that I'm gonna list in this video will just help you with that process, but it is important for you to learn as much as possible on how to secure your network as far as the Synology and any other devices that you have on the network. So as you can see here on screen is the accounts that are built into the Synology, and of course the XFaderz user that we just created. Make sure that the admin and the guest account are disabled. A lot of devices come with these pre-installed and activated, but you just want to pop in here to make sure that they are disabled so nobody can access those accounts. The next step is to set up your dynamic DNS information. So what you can do is go down to external access and then click DDNS and then click add. This will give you the opportunity to choose your provider. If you already have one, you can choose from the list, but we can just start with Synology. In this blank here, you'll add in the host name, so the same name that you provided for the quick connect. So for me, that will be xfad-nas, and it will create an account based off of that, and it will be xfad-nas synology.me. And by doing this, it will allow you to set up a Let's Encrypt account. It's a free account, but it allows you to create a certificate so you can encrypt your traffic going to the NAS. And that was one of the things I mentioned earlier. Even at the top of the screen, you notice it says not secure. This will allow you to encrypt your traffic when you're outside of your network. While you're inside the network, it is set to not secure because you are on your local network. There are some steps you can take to get this traffic to be encrypted, but it will require extra configuration and setup. I will leave the link in the description below as far as the steps to set that up. I am okay with accepting the risk of my local network not being secure because it's pretty much hardened here in the house, especially from my own router. Now, just to reiterate, I am stating that within my network, so let's say for example, I'm using my desktop in this case to access the Synology, that data is not being encrypted. So if the machine is not allowed on my network, they will not be able to access this data unencrypted. So speaking of that, if you go ahead and click on the network tab and then click on DSM settings at the end, you'll be able to set it up where it will automatically redirect HTTP connections to HTTPS for the DSM. So that's between 5000, port 5000, port 5001. So anytime you try and access the Synology outside of your network, it will default to HTTPS. Now, once you have that configured and set up, there are a few more things you can do. So if you click on the security tab on the left, one of the additional things you can do is set the logout timer. Also, if you go to protection, you can turn on the enable denial of service protection. As well as if you jump out, you can go to the firewall settings, and I would suggest enabling the firewall as well. And of course, all these settings you can just set up first and then click apply. When you click the accounts tab, you'll have the ability to set up the auto block. So this will block any logins where there are 10 attempts, failed attempts within 5 minutes. And you can change these times, whatever you feel comfortable with, as well as you can do a allow and block list. So that'll be quick and easy if you want to deny service from certain sections or certain IP addresses. Another setting that you can add or set up is the HTTP compression. So basically when you're using HTTPS, you can compress the HTTP data to save on bandwidth. So I check that as well when I set up mine. And again, I must reiterate that this is not a definitive walkthrough. There may be some things that you need to set up on your own personal network to secure or harden your network. So please make sure you know as much as possible about your network. And these are just the things that I feel comfortable with and the risk that I am comfortable accepting. Another option that the Synology offers is the ability to customize the power configuration. So for example, if you wanted it to be as quiet as possible, you can make changes to the settings there. So by clicking advanced settings at the top right, you'll be able to unlock the other options. And clicking on the hardware and power, you'll be able to go inside of general and adjust the fan speed. So if you want it running cool mode or quiet mode or low power, you can make those changes there. In addition to that, you have the option to add a UPS, which is uninterruptible power supply. So in the event that you lose power, the device will not shut down improperly. The advantage to this is, and also compared to a PC, when you're dealing with a PC, it pulls so much more power, so you have to have a larger UPS. But for this device, because it only pulls roughly 9 to 10 watts, you can get a relatively small UPS and add it to your Synology in addition to your router and your modem if you have one. So that will ensure that your internet connectivity will remain on in the event of a power outage. Now, there may be other factors that play a role in that could prevent you from accessing your Synology, but in theory, in the thought of, you would be able to still access the contents on your Synology during a power outage. In a real life example, let's say that you're out DJing and you lost power at your local house or local area. So you'll still be able to access your Synology to get to your music while you're performing. Or let's say that you're at a family gathering and you're just playing music from the software that works with the Synology, and you'll continue to be able to play those songs with no problem at all. So before you go out and purchase a UPS, be sure to make sure you check the Synology products compatibility list for an UPS. There are some that work in general, so they will continue to provide power to the Synology, but it will not be managed by the device. So when you exceed the time limit, those devices will shut down your Synology safely via the USB connection to monitor how much power is left. And for good measure, I included this shot here where basically I grabbed another machine and I connected it to a hotspot, so it's not connected to my local network whatsoever, and I'm logging into my Synology, and as you can see up there at the top next to the URL, there's no exclamation marks, no errors there, so that indicates that you're connecting to the Synology via secure connection. So with all the technical stuff out of the way, let's get to the part while you're looking at this video. So on screen at the moment, I have my local hard drive in one window, which is on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, I have the connection to the Synology. As you can see here, I just have a couple albums that I have in my collection, and I'm gonna proceed to click on the music folder on the Synology. And I'm gonna simply drag and drop the contents, a couple of albums to that folder, just to simulate me backing up those items to my Synology. Now this may come from your USB flash drives, your standalone storage hard drives. It can be anything, but essentially we're just trying to get the music over there. Now in another video, I'll show you some easy tips and tricks on how to get this done efficiently, but just for this display, I'll show you how to do it this way. Now, while that's transferring in the background, I want to take a minute to discuss how, I guess, one of the use cases for the Synology. I'm currently subscribed to the record pool BPM Supreme, and one of the caveats is they only allow you to download a particular song 3 times. So in the event that, let's say, you've exceeded your amount of downloads, you'll no longer be able to retrieve this song. Also, too, these songs are cycled out, and it's similar on a lot of other DJ pools as well, that they don't stay up there forever. So once they're gone, they're gone. So it's important to have somewhere where you can back up these songs so you'll never have to exceed the amount of downloads, as well as have the potential to losing these songs through a catastrophic failure, hard drive failure, PC failure in general. Another great use for the device is for you to back up photos. So if you took photos at your event, or let's say that you have a photo booth, or maybe even if you need to use these photos to showcase to new customers, to show them what your setup looks like in prior events. You can also save videos to this as well as your contracts. So you would just place those in the corresponding folders on the Synology. So it's as simple as going back to the file system and clicking on photos and just drag and drop some of the photos that you have from events into this location. There's also one set to the side for videos. I'll walk you through on how to save them and also separate them from your movies that you have on your device, as well as if you have any documentation, to place it in your home folder to allow you to back up contracts or any documentations for weddings and stuff like that that you'll need to access on the fly. I know this video has went a little long, and I appreciate you hanging in there with me. I promise you'll enjoy the content coming up here real soon, because this will be a multi-part series. I didn't want to cram everything into one video, and also you'll have the opportunity to click on videos that pertain to you or interest you more on this topic. So if you have any questions, definitely drop them down there in the comments section. I'll be checking it out, and I'll try and help you out as much as possible. But I'm sure I'll cover some of the topics that have not been explained in the upcoming videos. So please like, share, and subscribe, and check us out on the website at www.xfaders.com.